But hey, everybody, we are having an interesting before we begin recording conversation, which is what we do. Welcome everybody to the check-in, where a couple of friends hang out on the lunch break and talk about life under increasing fascism. Danielle Moody, my friend, it is good to see you. I always look forward to this. How are you doing?
You know, I just came back from roughly a 2-hour walk outside, in nature. I woke up, I looked and I said, oh, it's going to be 60 degrees here in New York. And, I want to enjoy the weather while I can and, just go look at the leaves changing colors and be at the water. And I have to tell you that I was just like, yeah, this man uh, is ruining everything, but like nature persists. And I think that that's why it's important for me. And Jared, I know that you live in like more of like a probably more rural area than I do.
Not rural, but middle America.
But middle America.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, but you like to go into the woods to disconnect from the people and like be in a cabin and everything like that. And the last several days I have spent more time outdoors, and I just say that it does my mind, my body and spirit really good, because even with the destruction and the chaos, it's, for me, it is a reminder that nature persists, right? That like things continue to grow, the leaves change color, like the birds still chirp. And so, yeah, I'm feeling right now kind of on my nature high, if you will, which is good because, in the beginning of the week, seeing the pictures of the destruction of the White House, as we were just saying, um, I didn't realize how that was going to upset me,
Yep.
how it was going to create yet another layer of grief for me. So, yeah.
Well,
How
first
are
of
you?
all, I'm so
Yeah.
glad that you were doing that. And by the way, the weather is finally changing, which is thank God,
Yeah.
because I listen, I thrive in fall.
Me too.
Fall
Yeah,
is my
me
shit.
too.
And I am very happy about that. And that helps the mood a tremendous amount. Like sitting here in a jacket.
Yeah.
It's all I want. I just want to wear jackets all the time. I two things that are popping up for me in terms of like how I've been feeling, I think. And by the way, I find it very funny that like we are syncing up as we talk every week,
Right.
which I think is important for people to
Yeah.
know.
Hmm.
Right, that like if you have enough conversations with a friend and you're honest and you're like intimate, eventually at some point you're just on the same vibe, which
Yeah.
is very nice. Like it's funny actually. I was thinking about it, I was like, we don't prep for this,
No, I don't know
but
if people know that we
I
just
don't know
kind
if
of
it's
hit
like this.
start.
I don't know if it's like this for you, but like I can feel what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I always get a sense of it.
Yeah, right, which is nice to be simpatico. Like every time you can have that. And again, I think that's one of the secret weapons
Yeah.
is you can either feel like you are living in a fascistic environment and you are vulnerable and you are alone, or another person can help you carry that load and
Yeah.
preferably a community. And
Yeah.
I think a couple of things on this. One, we've talked about nature and getting offline or whatever. The moment for me on Saturday when the president of the United States of America shared an artificially generated video of him spraying shit over Americans,
Yeah.
that mixed with like everything else, I want to say definitively, the internet is the fucking bad place. It's the bad place.
Yep.
And that doesn't mean that there aren't good things about it. Right? That
Right.
like
Because we can do this, right?
I wouldn't
Yeah.
know you. We wouldn't be able to do this. Like I
Right.
wouldn't have the people that I have if it wasn't for the internet. And I'm very grateful for that. But I
Right.
think what it made clear to me, it felt to me, and again, because a fascistic environment, you've got daddy on top of everything. Um, like it really reminded me of like the early days of the internet when people started getting on Facebook and your family members would share disgusting things and you would just be like, I don't want this. You know
Right.
what? I do not. And it's not your family now. It's national news. If you don't know that the president of the United States of America shared an AI generated video of him dropping shit on Americans, which, by the way, like, I think that, and you brought up the White House, and we can talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
It crystallizes a feeling that we have had,
Mhm.
and it crystallizes like something that we've been sensing, which is like a disdain, a hatred, like a disgust with other people. And it really clarified in the way that, like, back in the days of like sharing memes on Facebook, you would see something from like a family member or maybe a coworker, and you'd be like, oh, I knew something was going on. I
Right.
knew something was inside of them that didn't make me feel good. Watching that really clarified something for me. And I think one of the reasons why the White House thing, I think, has resonated with people, and we can talk about the White House and how we feel about it. It really is a perfect encapsulation. When I used to teach creative writing, I would talk about a thing called an objective correlative, which is a symbol that perfectly captures something that you can't explain. Which is like, it's like walking down the street and you see like a birthday balloon in like a ditch and it makes you sad. It's like the passing
Mhm.
of a
Mhm.
birthday and like all of that. That feeling isn't able, you're not usually able to discuss it. But I think what's happening now is that this thing is at such a point that the feelings that we've been having now for years are being crystallized in behavior.
Yes.
And seeing it for what it is, I think brings to the surface long simmering feelings that we've had
Yep.
that we couldn't necessarily name. And even in the
Mhm.
past, we would try and talk about it and our words would fail, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah. I just, you always use the good term on here, AI slop, right? Like that AI slop. And it's funny. My girlfriend's brother right now is like just playing around a lot with AI, making AI music videos and making music and all of these things and, sharing it with like their family. And I'm just like, this is terrible.
Terrible.
Like, it's just like, I mean, like, obviously he's bored and he's like entertaining himself, but I'm just like, this is devoid of any passion, of any creativity, of any, um, just truth, right? Like the grittiness that you get from good music, the grittiness that you get from good art, right? Like AI, and we've talked about this on past episodes, this frictionless existence, right? And so Donald Trump, like, he is the avatar of white nationalism, right? Like he is this empty vessel that only can feed on other people's fear and anxiety. And it reminds me, there was every once in a while, there is this wonderful interview that circulates of the late, great Toni Morrison talking about white supremacy, talking about racism, and what happens to you when racism is gone, when you no longer have it. Are you still tall, she said? Are you still smart? Right? Like that white supremacy is actually an identity crisis, is how she framed it. And so when you look at Donald Trump as this like Burger King, this Burger King avatar in this Top Gun style vessel, dropping shit on the American people, I'm just like, this is who you are. And there's no way to explain it away, to nuance it away, to pretend, oh, he's just making jokes, oh, blah, blah. The president of the United States shitting on the American people, you think is funny? And again, this is the question that if I'm a journalist in the room with Republican representatives, elected officials, and I'm questioning them, I'm saying, this is funny to you? The president of the United States literally putting up a video shitting on the American people. You think that that is something that should be representative of like leadership in this country, right? And make them respond to it. But it is just such, there are times when I'm grief stricken, and then there are other times when I'm grateful. And over the weekend, I was grateful for Donald Trump
Yeah.
continuing to show us very clearly and unequivocally who he is and what he stands for. That he is an empty vessel, that he is an avatar of hate, that he is unpatriotic, that he is soulless, right? And that honestly, he hates us. And by
Yeah.
us, I mean America. He hates America. He hates Americans. He hates everything that this country stands for. And the only thing that he can produce is destruction.
And you know what? I'm so glad that we're like narrowing down on this because I think this is essential in all of this. I like to take the political because it's so large and there's so many special things that you need to understand about it and boil it down into one on one or family level interactions. And I guarantee for anybody watching or listening to this, you have had moments in your life where you've had family members or you've had friends or coworkers and you've been with these people and they've made fun of you, they've belittled you, they've picked at you. You know how like that somehow is sometimes a stand-in for intimacy
Yep.
instead of actually asking what's going on with somebody
Yeah,
and
you just poke.
right. You find things and like then if you get upset about it because it is mean-spirited.
Hmm.
It actually is. It's the exact opposite of intimacy. It's trying to make the other person feel bad about themselves
Mm.
so that and a lot of times it's very funny. People who do that are people who are afraid that people will leave them, right? Because they're trying to lower a person's self-esteem so they don't feel like they can do better. They don't
Mm.
feel like they can get away from that stuff.
Yes, Jared.
And
Yeah.
what happens when you call them out for it? Like when they step over a line, you're like, "That's not okay," and they're like, "Oh,
They lash out.
it was just a joke." Well, you can't take a joke, and the whole point of it is this: that right there is cowardice
Mm.
because he can't even him and the Republicans they can't even own how they actually feel. They
Right.
can't even actually admit that what Trump showed, the reason why, and by the way, you brought up AI and the frictionless thing, that is Trump's fantasy. Trump's fantasy is
Yeah.
if he could, he would make literally every person in the world feel bad about themselves. And I don't just mean you and me and the people listening, his family.
Yes.
Documented that he has abused his children. It's documented that he has abused people like Donald Trump Jr., which, by the way, is how you get Donald Trump Jr.
Yep.
And by the way, how did Donald Trump become this? Because he was abused by Fred Trump. And so what happens is it perpetuates a cycle of abuse. And eventually, you know this, and other people know this too. There are people who the only thing they can do, they can't build. They
No.
can't grow things.
No.
Trump has never produced anything of note. Not a single thing, which is incredible having the money and the power and the influence that he has. He's never built anything. The only thing that a person that miserable can do is tear down things and tear down people. And that's the entire point of this. That what got sent out that video was literally abuse that was supposed to tell every American, you are so low that you deserve this. That's it. And they can't even admit it. They hide behind that joke thing. But what it is it's a spreading of misery and perpetuating a cycle of abuse. And the people who make it forward are the people who heal from that. And quite frankly, like, let's be clear, you and I, we're not going to make fun of each other. We're not going to figure out something that one of us is insecure about and then like pick at it and pick at it and pick at it. I want you to grow. I want
Right.
you to succeed. And by the way, like I recognize that like that's the same thing with strangers. I don't want to be rude to complete strangers. I don't want to be rude to people that I don't know. What does that do? It doesn't build anything. And that is the difference. It's not just whether or not women should have the right to, have reproductive health care. That's a symbol of this. It's more about the difference between people who want to build things and people who are only content to break things and drag them down.
And I think too, I mean, you just hit so many points, made so many great points about the cycle of abuse, about how we get caught up in it, about the destruction mentality. And I think that what is the opposite effect, Donald Trump is creating the opposite effect that he thought that he was going to create right now. I think that that is evident in the videos that you are seeing of strangers taking up for each other on the street against ICE.
Yes.
These videos that you're seeing of these thugs coming in and disrupting community and schools and, people just trying to make a living and drag them down and all of these things. And you're seeing in communities across this country, strangers connecting with one another and saying, this isn't right. And I'm not going to stand for it. Right. Like when you in the airport, when they say, when you see something, say something. Right. And that is what is happening, is that believe that Donald Trump thought that he was going to come in with this iron fist and clamp down, and we were all going to shrink, that we were all going to bow our heads, because MAGA had done that over the last 10 years, right? Grown men whose wives he's ridiculed, who he has picked on, who he has belittled, who he has discriminated against, laughed at, they all crumbled and bowed because he believes that everyone is as weak as these people. And what he is being faced with now, and why I think that he tore down the White House this week and literally is reacting in the way that he is because no kings really did penetrate this bubble that his MAGA sycophants have created around him, right? You're the greatest. You should be a Nobel Peace Prize winner. You're a genius. You're a captain of industry. You're all of these things. And then it's like once he steps outside of this bubble that they've created, this lie that they have weaved around him, then all of a sudden he looks around and everyone hates him. You're a laughing stock. You're a joke. Right? And so he can't take that. Right? And so he has to lash out. He has to act out. And I think that, again, it is a sign of just smallness and weakness and how fragile this entire project is. Right? And I want people to remember that because, again, I've come on here with you, Jared, damn near in tears, right? Feeling completely distraught, feeling completely hollowed out some days, some weeks, right? Of what is happening to this country, what Donald Trump is doing. And then it occurs to me, I have these glimmers where I'm just like, oh, he's not who he thinks that he is. And he can't do what it is that he really wants to do because he is bleeding support. And by virtue of how awful he is, and that it's undeniable, people are linking arms. People are building community in a way that I don't think that without Donald Trump, we would be in this space. Do you know what I'm saying? In this space of linking arms, building community, and recognizing the dangers of the internet, the dangers of misinformation, the dangers of this artificialness, right? That we would still find ourselves trapped in it.
No, and quite frankly, it's really fascinating, the cycles of fascism, because things have to get to the point where fascism is possible. Right? Like things like fascism doesn't just sprout up in a healthy society. There has to be years and years of decline and corruption. And again, I keep saying it, like America's having a collective breakdown. That's what this
Yeah.
is. It is a psychological, collective, societal level breakdown.
Yep.
Fascism comes in, but the amazing thing about it, because I think we were all taught that fascists were very strong. That's why it was a problem, right? We had to go fight Hitler. We had to go fight Mussolini. Oh my God, their armies were so good. No, they're incompetent. They're buffoons. They're posturing clowns. They are the most insecure individuals imaginable, and they're dysfunctional. That's the other issue here. They don't trust each other. None of these
Yeah.
trust each other. Everybody who goes in Trump's orbit understands that he's going to use them up, and he will discard them at a moment's notice. If you don't believe me, go talk to Jeff Sessions. Go talk to Mike Pence. He tried to kill his vice president.
Like,
Like,
we don't say that enough.
we don't say that enough. And by the way, if Vance goes the wrong way, he'll try and kill Vance. And for the record, Vance would try and kill him. That's what's going on. It is an incompetent. The only way that this wins, the only way that this wins is if we let them win.
Yep.
That's it. And that's the hard truth of this because there's discomfort with this. And we talked about it last week. It was like going into the No Kings protest. What are you going to do after it?
Yep.
Like this, obviously, one of the things that it does is it pierces that alternate reality that you're talking about. Oh, he's the most popular president of all time. He can do no wrong. No, the largest one day protest in American history happened because people fucking hate him. And guess what the number two largest one day protest was? The
The one
last one.
before. Yep.
People fucking hate him. His approval rating, depending upon what you look at, with the margin of error, can go as low as 30%.
Yep.
He's despised. And nothing that they're doing is actually popular. The only way this wins is if we don't take that feeling that you're talking about, which what is it? It's clarity. What is it that happens in a point of disaster? You and I could have like some sort of a feud going on. Maybe we haven't talked for weeks. The flood comes in, the hurricane comes in. I go and knock on your door and I'm like, hey, is everything okay here? Right? We haven't talked.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's like, no, we've got other things to deal with.
Yep.
We have to leave behind the petty bullshit. We have to leave behind the narrow focus stuff that keeps us from actually interacting with people and engaging with people. And if we don't do that, this will win. And we will go back to sleep. And we will dissociate and we will depersonalize. And the world will feel like what it felt like watching that video. What it feels like to have this constant stream of bullshit pumped into our eyes. Like that is the future. And the problem here is that we have to make the decision to not just come together. We have to make the decision to do things that aren't comfortable, that we don't know how it's going to turn out. And I can tell people what I think needs to happen in this country. I can tell people what I think needs to happen around the world politically. I think the answers are pretty obvious. Will it be easy? Fuck no.
Right.
No, it will not be easy. There are going to be bumps. It's not a utopian vision. Things aren't going to get completely better. There's going to be work that needs to be continued. But you have to make the decision to take this moment of clarity, act on it, and take the chance to make a better world. It's a big ask, but there's no other thing to do now. You can't just absorb this. You can't.
And I think that, there is a phrase that I use, with myself all the time, which is looking for opportunity inside of the obstacles, right?
Yep.
There is an opportunity inside of this chaos that we are being presented with. And it is the recognition that America has not been functioning. It has not been a functioning society for all people. We have recognition now from more people than ever before that guess what? Capitalism is an extractive, exploitive system, right? That we have all been tricked into believing that if I just grind hard enough and work hard enough, then I too will be a Bill Gates. I too will be an Elon Musk. I too will have all the things. Meanwhile, you're in debt up to your ears, right? It's this idea of us really truly recognizing. And I had, again, this moment of clarity today as I was walking outside and thinking to myself, thank God I don't work in a cubicle anymore. Thank God that I have built the structures to work for myself. It is not easy to do so, but I had to reorient myself around what wealth meant to me, right? And wealth means to me having the freedom to go for a 2-hour walk and then be in an hour conversation that expands my mind and my heart, right? Not just processing shit for other people that actually is meaningless to me, right? Wealth to me means that I am creating and putting out into the universe things that help people, that guide people, that open people up, right? That I'm not just filling my own coffers, right? And so we have to orient ourselves around what it means to live in a functional, open, society. It isn't about a utopia. It isn't about, oh, well, that means there's no crime and there's no this and there's no that. No, it means that what we've been fed as this idea of wealth and richness and aspirational is actually just a mirage of capitalism to continue to have you hooked into a system that doesn't benefit you, right? And Donald Trump is the Frankenstein of
Yep.
that, right? He is the Frankenstein. What happens when greed goes unchecked? What happens when there are no checks and balances? What happens when there is overt lawlessness and there's misogyny and racism? Donald Trump. That's what happens. Do you want a society of Trumps? Right? Like, is that what we want to green light? So there is an opportunity here in the chaos and the obstacles that we've been presented with to decide what what do we want to create here? Not just what we want to tolerate, but what do we want to create? And in the midst of destruction, that's the option, that's the opportunity that I think that is presented to us.
And it's more of an opportunity than we've ever had in our lifetimes. And I think that's a hard thing for people. Like, I talk to people all the time and they're like, I'm so exhausted. I'm so scared. And I'm like, I know. I absolutely know. But I've been trying to practice what I call reverse gratitude. I am so grateful that we are in a place where people are finally waking up to exactly how awful and destructive capitalism is. That, I mean, like, that wasn't going to take place in the 1980s, the era that birthed Donald Trump. That wasn't going to take place in the 1990s. Everyone wants to go back to the 90s. Do you know how fucking bad it was in the 90s? Has anybody watched a movie from the 90s lately and seen the way that they talk about people of color, that they talk about gay people? They didn't even
Yeah.
talk about trans people because they were like completely shoved over here. The way they treated women, the way
Yep.
that they treated anybody. Like, if you actually look at that, it was a society of Trump. Everybody was in the collective Trump zone
Yeah.
because they were all acting like that. Of course, not everybody did, and we don't do it every single day, but we all, and that's the thing about Trump, and I always try and communicate this. He repulses us because we see ourselves in him.
Yep.
Our worst moments, the places where we're not our best selves, the places where we're hurting and we're not dealing with it. And if you take a look at this, and you're exactly right, Donald Trump wasn't elected president. Donald Trump was belched out of capitalist America. That's it. He was vomited forth from one of the most disgusting systems that has ever been created. And he is the ideal capitalist. He doesn't care about other human beings. Doesn't care about himself, quite frankly. Doesn't care about what he does. Doesn't care about who he hurts. All he does is mindlessly consume. And by the way,
Mm.
like, we're talking about like what we value. Donald Trump, what's he do with his free time, Danielle? Do we see him hanging out with his family and like hanging out with his grandkids? He golfs because he
Yep.
wants to golf, and he wants people on the golf course to tell him how
To
great.
applaud and to applaud him.
He
Yep.
wants to go to Mar-a-Lago, where every room he walks in, people applaud and tell him how great he is. And he looks around at like women who are like so unhappy with themselves, and that they look at him like he's some sort of I don't even know what is in the MAGA mind half the time. That, and somebody said it's kind of sad. It's very sad.
Yes.
It's very sad. And what goes along with this, Danielle, I'm a leftist. I am a leftist. I'm an anti-capitalist. Like, I don't want to sit around arguing about theory. I don't fucking want to sit around talking about how to perfect this thing. I'm on a healing journey. I'm recovering from the trauma
Yeah.
through my entire life. The ways that I was hurt, the ways that I hurt, all of those things. It was a really hard thing to suddenly be like, oh my God, I'm getting better. And guess what? There's still pain.
Mm.
Still times where I'm not my best self. Healing is not a promise of perfection. It's
Yep.
a promise of living. It's a promise of not being an automaton who is doing from one moment to the next things that they don't even know why they're doing it. And that's the whole point. Capitalism was created the way that it was, specifically for one reason, Danielle. It saw human beings as selfish and destructive, and
Mm-hmm.
it needed to harness those things instead of helping us be better, instead of expecting better things from us. It is a completely cynical, anti-human idea. And so what we're talking about is an incredible opportunity. And we have to
Yeah.
look that way. There is a vacuum right now. The mythology of America has crumbled. Nobody's buying that shit anymore.
Yep.
Nobody buys that entire fairy tale. The opportunity is there for the clarity to come in and for a better future in which we are living. It's not perfect. It's not ever going to be perfect. We're never going to see a perfect society, but we sure as shit deserve better than this.
And when you talk about the healing journey, it reminds us that we have choices.
Yes.
We have choices that
Yes.
are still in front of us. The choice to disassociate, the choice to numb, or the choice to really connect and feel, right? And that means connecting and feeling the good and the bad. It doesn't, healing is not like you're saying, it is not the absence of pain,
Oh,
right? It's the ability to be able to deal with the pain without having to numb it,
yeah.
right? And knowing that this too shall pass, right? That the human experience is about the consistent ebb and flow of the good and the bad, the up and the down, and the beauty of all of that. I wouldn't never want to live in an existence that is devoid of darkness, because how do you honestly appreciate the light? You appreciate the light because you exist at times in darkness, right? Darkness isn't not, and there is Valerie Kaur, Kaur, the author. She has a wonderful book that I'm reading right now, called The Sage Warrior. And she is a Sikh, and she's talking, and the book is about the Sikh tradition, and about healing, and moving through various points of trauma and all of these things. And this idea that, like, life is this journey that we don't have to slog through,
Yep.
right? That the beauty is being able not just to connect with each other, but truly connect with ourselves and ask ourselves, what do I want? How do I want to be? How do I want to exist? How do I want to show up? The reason I entered into therapy 7, 8 years ago at this point is because I really wanted to know who I was. I was tired of being told who I was
Mm.
and then mirroring back who other people thought I should be. And there came a point where I arrived in my life and I didn't know what I liked, who I was, what I wanted. And I felt completely and totally lost. And I said, I need a guide. I need somebody to help me unpack what I'm carrying that I don't need to be carrying anymore. And it wasn't this idea of, oh, I'm feeling bad and I just want to feel good. It's that I want to go through this life for however long or short that I have the opportunity to be here, to know myself so that I can really know other people. Folks sometimes listen to me and they think that this is how I've always been. And I'm like, oh no, oh no, no, no. This has been a long journey and a continued journey. I'm excited to see who I become in decades and decades to come if I am granted that kind of time, right? But my God, I think that what America like embodies is this idea that you should never experience anything other than joy. That you should never, and not even joy, because that's not even, it's like this artificial happiness,
Performative joy.
performative joy. Then that is what America is like based on. Everything is big. Everything is, everything is just eh, slop,
Yep.
right? And, you didn't need a McMansion that then goes into foreclosure, right? Why does one family need 3,000 square feet, right? Like, why were we told that that is what we should have aspired to? Mortgaging ourselves way out of our ability, only so that we could pretend to be who we're not, right? And so I think that, again, this is a presentation that we are being given, a presentation of all that happens when greed isn't checked, when empathy isn't nourished, when what you can consume and what you have is better than who you are. right? And that is what we applaud. And then you get the Musks and the Trumps of the world.
You know what that makes me think of, and it's a weird association. I think about, and I've felt this for my entire life. I didn't know how to explain it. But you know what one of the most depressing things to me is, Danielle? It's driving into a town and it's the same fucking signs and the same fucking restaurants. You know, the chains. You
The
know what I'm talking
chains.
about?
Yes,
Or
yes.
or you're driving through like a countryside and they've put up billboards everywhere. And it's
Right.
enjoying like a vista. And then all of a sudden it's some dumb fucking billboard. And you're like,
Selling something to
I
you.
hate this. I hate that feeling. And then there's a calmness in me when I get beyond that. When all of a sudden there aren't any billboards anymore. There aren't any signs anymore. And by the way, what are those signs? They've all been meticulously created to excite you. The colors, the design, the presentation, all of it has been engineered to activate you, to make you want to go eat something, to make you go buy something, to do whatever. That's honestly one of the most like tragic things that I can think about. We took this country. We literally took this country from another people who, by the way, made the mistake of thinking that we came in like good faith. That's the secret weapon. By the way, you brought up white supremacy. What did the history books say? Oh, like the European nations had better weapons, better technology. No. The reason why that places were colonized is because Europeans and colonizing nations, they had a secret weapon. It was the nuclear bomb of their time. It's called fucking lying. It's
Mm.
called going in and saying one thing and doing another. Hey, we're here to live beside you. By the way, we're now going to take your land and you're going to be moved over here. That's the secret. And what did we do? This country, and by the way, I'm talking about the country. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah,
America
yeah.
stars and stripes and all that fucking horse shit. Like, this is a beautiful country. Like we like getting out in this country and seeing the landscape and seeing what this country has to offer. What did we do with it, Danielle? We trashed it.
Yep.
We fucking trashed it.
Yep.
Go outside, you're driving down the street, there's just trash.
Trash.
Just trash. We've talked about this before. Drinks and food and candy that people didn't even enjoy, that they
Yep.
just finished it and then just fucking
Through it.
trash. We trashed it. And why is that? Because the human American capitalist mind does this. It shits all over everything because it doesn't value things. It
Mm.
doesn't live in the moment. It's living in a dissociative, depersonalized state where it's just like, give me whatever I want right now that will do one thing, which you brought up. And I really want to pin this down because you brought it up and it's essential. Healing is not about the absence of pain. It's about choosing to look at the pain and choosing to work through the pain. What is Donald Trump? What is Elon Musk? What are the Republicans doing? What are half the, well, not half, probably 98% of the moderates in this country? What are they doing, Danielle? They're busying themselves so they don't have to deal with their pain.
Yep.
And so, what is America? It's a big, giant fucking distraction. It's the greatest distraction that has ever been created in the history of the world. That's why it's the most powerful nation in the world, because it tries to make the rest of the world move into that dissociated, beat down, thoughtless state.
By
And
tell and they do so with the original lie, saying that what it is that those people have, your tribal, community-based, like
value,
mindset is what? It's savagery. It's rudimentary, right? It's beneath you, right? I'll say this, just a small example. My sister lives in Kenya, right? Moved there a couple of months ago. She's an international teacher. And she's like, everything here is so goddamn expensive. And I said, like, even the textiles, like, clothing and the furniture and blah, blah, blah. And she goes, yeah. She's like, they import everything. And I said, why? Like, why do you think that is? And she's like, colonization. She's like, because they were told that what they created, what they built, isn't good enough, right? That their fabrics aren't good enough, that this isn't good enough. And so you create this longing and this aspiration for the Europeans' stuff, right? Which then has you throw your stuff out, right? Don't even bother with it. It's not, it's not evolved. It's not luxury, right? Your food is not fine dining, right? Right? Your language. I learned my girlfriend is Haitian, and I learned that Creole in Haiti, they don't write it because they were told that it wasn't a real language. And that there are some now that are trying to actually create the written language of Creole because the French told them that it wasn't a real language, that their experience wasn't real. And so you're seeing like over and over again how there is this in this moment, there is a reclamation that is having, there is a reclaiming that is happening of people's language, of their materials, of their land, of their of themselves, of their civilization that the Europeans told them was less than. To disconnect people from their history, their language, their religion, themselves. And that lie, that original lie is what persists.
And here's the wildest part of it. And thank you, by the way, for sharing that, because I think that is a perfect way to zero in on something. What has neoliberal global capitalism been? It's been the colonization of the United States of America in the same way that they've colonized other countries. What has happened in this country? Things that matter to people, things that brought people together, things that had like meaning and purpose and like value, they fucking destroyed it. And why did they do it? For worthless shit. Like you brought up like textiles. What is it that we do in this country? We buy fast fashion. It falls apart.
Yep.
And what do? We throw it away and it goes in a fucking landfill. That's it. And and people don't like to zero in on this because like to actually look at the entire thing, it puts the onus on us. And this is the hard truth. It's almost like as you're learning to heal and recover, there's something that comes up, Danielle. First of all, trauma happened to you. Like things happened to you that weren't okay, and you need to heal from that. But then the next step is to realize I've played a role in these cycles.
Yeah.
And for some of us, it's, like actually like whether it's martyrdom or whether it's being the victim, that gives us an essence of power. By the way, I'm also talking about the Democratic Party here, but we don't need to get into that right now or have the time for it. They find power in being like, well, there's nothing really I can do right now. Because what's that keep us from doing? It keeps us from looking at the total picture and what has happened.
Yep.
We have to learn from decolonization efforts because those people, they've been dealing with it for a very long time. But what America did to the rest of the world, eventually it did to us. And that's what's, and we have to hold two things in mind at the same time, Danielle. And this is another hard piece of truth. What's happening in the United States of America has happened to every so-called second and third world country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
What are we afraid of? We're afraid of living the way that we've made other people live.
Oh my. Say that again. Yep.
And I keep trying to use this example. Every piece of apocalyptic fiction, it's about America losing its first world privileges. Oh, the power's out. Oh, we're not able to get our products. Oh, we have to rough it a little bit, right? We have to be able to say those people don't deserve that either. So we have to look both at how these people have learned to free themselves and to fight authoritarianism and to like gain measures of freedom and worth and self-reliance, while also realizing, holy shit, we did that to them. This was done on our behalf. I didn't ask anybody to do it, but it was done on my behalf. Also, by the way, because I like to be honest while we're doing that, it was done so I could wear this, so I could wear this,
Yep.
so I could talk on this phone, so I could have these lights, so I could have this mic. I'm getting a phone call and I got to get rid of it. So I can have a phone call, interrupt my live stream, right? It was done on our behalf, whether we asked for it or not. And now we have to take a look at it and say, oh my God, like that wasn't okay, and we have to stop. And we have to make choices for the betterment of those people, the betterment of us, and the betterment of the planet and human civilization, period.
God, Jared, that was gorgeous. That
Mm,
was gorgeous because it is 100% right. These are the things that we don't want to think about. These are the things that we're told not to think about because we're exceptional.
we're exceptional. We shouldn't have to deal with
We shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to have disruption with my internet. I shouldn't have to struggle. I shouldn't have to think outside the box and figure out how I'm going to create and do because everything is given, right? Everything is given. And yeah, you're right. The entirety around a post apocalyptic world is not having all of your needs met instantly. And the reality is that I've said this and people came for me. I said, this is America's chickens coming home to roost. This is America's chickens coming home to roost. Because when you speak to people, immigrants from other countries that have come here, and what America has done to their countries, to their nations, like, my God, my God. But we were told we're exceptional. We were told we're a beacon. We were told that we're deserving. And if they don't have, much in the same way that we think about or don't think about the unhoused, much in the same way that we don't think about, right, those that are in poverty, that's a personal failure, not a systemic one. So we're not going to have a conversation about the atrocities that are happening in the Sudan because bad things happen there. That's what happens in that part of the world.
it. Yep. There's something wrong with them. There's a
Yep.
reason why Haiti is Haiti. There's something inherently wrong. Never mind the fact that Haiti fought for its independence and defeated every major world power and then got ruined by our banks and by colonial.
Mhm.
I want to say something, and I want to be, this is one of the things, right? It's hard to say some of the things, and I need to stop for a second in order to make sure that I'm saying it in a way with love, right? And
Mhm.
and I think that's that extra step of consideration. I think makes all the difference, which is something we all need to learn. You know what sign I really don't like at these protests, Danielle?
What?
I should be at brunch right now, and here's the reason why. And if somebody listening or watching had that sign, I understand where it comes from. It comes from a desire to not have to deal with this shit, to live like a life where you're doing the things that you want to do. Well, here's the thing, Danielle. You could be at brunch right now, probably because you're white and you don't have to worry about being picked up by ICE. And guess what? If the fascist government gets what it wants and this turns into a total police state, you're still going to be able to have brunch. And you're still going to be able to have brunch while people are being herded into concentration camps and while you're being, surveillanced, everything that you possibly do. Because what is the essence of this thing? And I really mean this. And by the way, I enjoy brunch. I love getting some pancakes. I'll have a beer with it. Who doesn't love it? It's wonderful. The whole point of what's going on right now is that shit is so fucked up and capitalism is past the point of working that what Trump is doing and what the fascists are doing, it's necessary to keep you going to brunch. It's the thing that will allow you to do that while other people are being exterminated, while other people are being exploited. So, what we need to be able to do is say, maybe the things that have been comfortable for me and maybe the things that I have valued, maybe they don't have that much value.
Yes.
And maybe those were things that kept me from thinking about what's going on. And maybe I need to be more aware because that joy, I guess, it's fleeting. You're done
Mhm.
with your brunch, it's gone,
Mhm.
right? There's other stuff that has actual value. And I look at that and I'm saying that with love because these are the things that we actually have to tackle. Like we have to look at what the privilege of America has cost us and what it's costing us now.
I think that that is so important. And it is important to say those things with love, to be able to say why you are offering the fact that to even utter that is to come from a place of entitlement and privilege, right? Because you know thanks to this crooked Supreme Court, that if your skin is white, you're not going to be harassed, right? You're going to be allowed to pass through the crowd. Everyone else, though, becomes a suspect
Until you're not. That's the next.
until you're not. And so I think that it is really important. We have got to see where we have been complicit in how we got here, right? It's just, again, it's like the decision to go to therapy. Your life doesn't just happen to you,
Yeah.
right? You have the ability to happen to your life, to make your life happen. So if done, it's not enough to just say, well, I didn't vote for Donald Trump, so therefore I have nothing to do with this. Just by virtue, again, of us saying, well, I'm recording doing this on my fucking iPhone. So you think that I'm not complicit in what is in the atrocities that are happening in order to get the minerals to make this? Right? Every time that you enter into Chat GPT or into Gemini or whatever it is, that isn't costing millions and millions of tons of fucking water. So is it to say that we all just pack up, go live, off the grid? No, but it is to say that there is a level of consciousness that by virtue of being in America, that we have been allowed to tune out, right? And that there are some of us, because of our race, because of our sexual orientation, because of our gender identity, because of our religion, that we've never been able to fully tap out and disconnect, right? And disassociate. Because if we did, that could mean certain death for us. And that is not me being hyperbolic. That is the truth.
And I want to take this before we finish out, because what you just said is true, and there's a couple of things to hold while we're looking at that. God, this moment asks so much from us. It asks so much, and it's not fair. It's not fair. We shouldn't be having to deal with this, but we're dealing with this because we haven't dealt with it. Because we haven't, individuals have, we as a society have not. So we have to be able to hold a couple of things at once, which is there is no ethical life under capitalism. We are all doing something at any given moment that isn't worthy of us, and it's not worthy of the world. We all fail constantly. And that failure is the only way that we learn. It's to be able to look at it and be honest and not fall into a shame spiral. Not to hate ourselves because we have lived in this horrible, horrible environment, in this exploitative environment. But it is also looking at something, and you touched on it, and I really want to get this in before we're finished. Most of us have been living not making choices. We make choices, but we don't know why we make them. We don't know what's driving them. We don't know what it is inside of us that makes us make the choices that we have. We want to believe in free will, America, anybody can be whatever. No, we're all in a deterministic environment. And if you're not careful, you are going to make a bunch of choices by not making choices.
Yep.
And where we're at now is a time of choosing. And every second, every single day, every single hour is another opportunity to choose something. To be better, to choose to make better decisions, to choose. And by the way, why does authoritarianism and fascism work? Because people don't want to fucking make choices.
Yep.
There's a freedom of unfreedom. They're so happy that Trump and all of these people are doing whatever they want because they don't have to make those choices. We've outsourced our choices to fashion. That's what this is.
Yeah, we've outsourced our responsibility. And I think that, you hit the nail on the head, because where we need to be, and again, just going back to the beginning, the opportunity that is being presented to us is for us to choose how we want to live, right? And to choose to live in a conscious way, to recognize that we have all been complicit in allowing this system to get as out of control as it has, right? And so if that complicity came from a place of disassociation and lack of thought and lack of connection, then how do we get ourselves out of it? By actually disconnecting from the slop, from the numbing, from the continued scrolling and streaming, and actually connect with ourselves in real life and with the people around us that we want to be building community with. We have been moving, and somebody just said it, and I'm going to repeat it, as on autopilot, right? On autopilot. Just the car has been self-driving. And what I'm saying is, and what you're saying is, take the wheel. It is your life. This is your country, right? And so it only becomes this destructive place when you've obfuscated your responsibility, you've given it over to somebody else, and just hope and pray that they do what's right. Like, that's what we've been doing for 250 some odd, for 249 years. Just hoping to elect the right people and, to gentleman's handshake, and they'll do the right things. And we don't got to think about it. We don't got to drive the car. We just get to go on with our life because I'm too busy for politics. I'm too busy for this, that, and the other thing. There is no more important work to be done than the work that we need to do on ourselves and the kind of country that we want to live in.
Remember when you didn't have to think about the president.
Mm.
Hear that all the time. You need to. You need to. And that's the thing. You couldn't have nailed it more on the head. Danielle Moody, my friend, this is the best every week. I'm so grateful for you.
So grateful for you. And folks, we hit a record number today, and I'm so grateful for all of the people that have tuned in. Over 650 viewers right now, which is extraordinary. So thank you so much for deciding to join this conversation. We
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
I don't know. I just want to say before we finish, like, I don't think we knew what we were going to do when we decided to do this. Basically, we were like, I want to do something with you. And
Yes.
something with you. And I think on the topic of how we started with this, it's nice to build something.
Yes.
And I think that's
Yes.
the nice thing. A lot of things in life feel like obligations. A lot of things feel like slogs. This never feels like that for me. So I'm very grateful for you.
Very, very grateful for you, for the ability to just feel
Yeah.
what we're feeling, and really sit with it. So, yes,
Wonderful. All right.
thank you.
Everybody, thank you so much. Be safe.
Be safe.
Gotta try and end this thing. All right.